What's up everyone, it's a Knife Style here, and today I'm going to be doing my EDC gift guide for Christmas of 2020. And yes, this video is coming a little bit early, but that's because a lot of people I know like to do their Christmas shopping on Black Friday, because I remember last year my video came out a week before Christmas, so it probably wasn't that helpful to someone. And I will be doing a video in a couple weeks, I guess, talking about the best Black Friday deals out there, so stay tuned if you want to know my take on those best deals. And keep in mind that all the items that I list here will be linked in the description. You can buy them multiple places. I'll probably find them on Amazon because that's probably where most people order stuff. But anyway, if you want to check any of these out, check out that description. So the first category I'm going to be talking about is under $20. And the truth is, I really like a lot of knives, and most of this video is going to be surrounding knives. And under $20, you're not going to get that high quality of knives. And so let's get started. One flashlight that I think everyone would appreciate getting is the Olight i1R EOS. There's a second version of this too. It's micro USB charging. It's got like a low power or a not as bright mode. Sorry, I'm not a flashlight expert. And a high mode. It's got just two modes, and it overall works really fine. Throw this on your keys and it will come in handy a bunch of times when you have it. Also, for a pin, the Zebra F701. I don't know the exact price on this, so check the description, but I think that I got it at Walmart for like $7. And honestly, this pin is great. It feels really good in the hand. It's a pretty big pin. It's kind of heavy, but it's all steel construction. Got a decent pocket clip, and it's clicky if you like to fidget with it. So yeah, that's pretty good. The next one is the Worksharp Micro Sharpener. And keep in mind, if you want to get something that revolves around sharpening and you want to get stuff at a good price, the Worksharp brand is just a really good brand to go to because they have a lot of cheap stuff and it works really well. I use a lot of their products. So that micro sharpener is $10. It's not the most useful thing in the world, but it does have some Torx bits here, which people will appreciate. It's got a little diamond side and a ceramic side. I pretty much only hone my knife on the ceramic side, but overall, it could be a good thing to just throw in your watch pocket. I feel like it's a pretty good option. The next one is just a set of bits. I would suggest going with these Weha Bits. This will run you about $17. It goes all the way up from T5 to, what is this one? T30. Oh wow, that's pretty big. And it's not like 30 bits, you know, but it's got T5, T6, T7, T8, T9, T10. That's pretty much what any of you guys who are into knives will need, unless your knives have or are just really different. So a lot of people will appreciate a bit set because you can never have enough bits, and you're going to be tempted to get a cheaper quality of bits. But honestly, that will probably hurt someone's knives more than it will help it because the bits will strip out their screws. The next one, this is a Weha Stubby Bit Driver. This thing is about $12.50. This thing offers very good torque for you when you are unscrewing a screw, I guess, that maybe has Loctite on it. It's overall not the most wieldy thing in the world because it's kind of small, but it is very useful for getting out really tight screws. I personally use, for my disassembly, I use these things. I have a T8, T6, and T10 of this, and I think that it is very good. These prices kind of vary on this, so I don't really know. I got them off of eBay, so you might want to check that out. And the next one, this is a Victorinox Cadet, but the Victorinox Classic is actually only $17. This one is a little bit more expensive, but I really like this. A lot of times I'll throw this in my back pocket when I carry a knife, just because if anyone's like, hey, can I use your knife? I'm not going to hand them the nice knife that I have as my primary carry, so it's a good one to have. Sometimes the tools come in handy, so I would suggest the Victorinox Classic. Yes, it's a little bit smaller. It's got a knife, a file, and scissors, which is honestly one of my favorite set of tools, and I kind of wish that the Classic would come in a bigger model, but it might. I'm not really a Swiss Army knife guy, but yeah, I think that everyone would appreciate a Victorinox Classic. And there are lots of other tools in this price range, so if you have any suggestions in the comments, please leave those down below. The next one is kind of where we get into those budget knives, the $30 range to the $50 range. And the first knife is the CJRB Centros. and I actually have 2 of them. And now, if you guys know me, you know that I like to support a lot of American-made companies, and a lot of the companies on this list are Chinese-made. And the truth is that you are going to get some pretty high-quality knives for the budget price point when you buy from a Chinese company. The only bad thing is that you might not have a good warranty, there might not be the best customer service, and there obviously could be issues, and I have had some issues with CGRBs. So the issue is I like to support USA made companies, and I can suggest a lot of Chinese made companies because I know a lot of people want to get the best bang for their buck and don't want to just spend extra money just to, support the US economy, I guess. But anyway, this CGRB Centros is about $35. It's got a D2 blade, G10 handle, a liner lock, thumb stud action, designed by Dylan Mallory. Overall, solid ergonomics. I'm not the biggest fan of this D2 blade, but it still is a great quality knife, and I think that a lot of people will like that. A knife that I don't have, but I've seen suggested from almost every single YouTuber out there, is the QSP Penguin. It's only about $30, D2 blade, G10 handle, and I will probably be picking one up soon just because it's so cheap. The next one is the CGRB Feldspar. I have the mini Feldspar, and I'm pretty sure the mini and the full size are kind of around the same price. I think it's around that $35 to $40 range. A lot of CGRBs come like that, but I really like the design of this guy. It's just very simple on the ergonomics, and I like this blade shape. It is D2 G10 thumb stud liner lock. That's a commonality between a lot of these Chinese companies, but it is a quality knife, and it's very small, and it will make a great little EDC knife. The next one, which I don't have, but I've heard lots of suggestions on, is the Worksharp Guided Field Sharpener. And it's about $30, and a lot of hunters will just throw it in their backpack. It's got a coarse stone and a fine stone, and overall it can really touch up your knife in the field when you need it. So the next one, which I don't have with me right now, but it's the Civivi Backlash. This is a shredder, which I have right here. This is a little bit more expensive, but in my opinion, the Backlash is probably my favorite Civivi. It's only $42. It's got a 9CR18 MOV blade, which is a very high quality steel, G10 handle, flipper, on bearings, and a liner lock. Once again, another one of those, but it is a overall very high quality, and Civivi is a solid brand to go to. So maybe you'll just look at Civivi knives, see which one is the most appealing to the person that you're buying it for, and get that one for them. Because the thing about Civivi that I can really suggest is they really do nail their fit and finish. Their centering, or I've owned, I guess, just 3 of them, but the centering is always on point, the lockup is always solid, and it's always got a good action and a super thin blade. And so I can really respect the work that Civivi's doing. I just wish they'd come out with a little bit more variation in their models and use less of D2. So the next one, which is probably my favorite on this list, the Kershaw Leak. I got this knife a while back for, I think, just $40, but I saw that the base model, which is this, I think the stainless steel handles, I'm not entirely sure, or just the regular colored model, is about $45. There are a bunch of different variations out there, so the prices will probably go up depending on which variation you want to get. But I really do like the Kershaw Leak. It's made in the USA. It is using a speed safe assisted action, which isn't my favorite, but honestly I can't complain because it's still one hand closed, one hand open, so I really like that. This blade shape is very useful. It's got a hollow grind. I believe it comes about 19 thousandths behind the edge. So overall, this makes a great EDC user. I wish the pocket clip was better, but really, I got no complaints with this knife. It's on the smaller side, but I think that it's probably the best USA-made EDC knife that I've ever tried, or budget knife from USA-made that I've ever tried, but it's still a very highly suggested knife, and I think it's coming at a great price point. So the last one on this list is a sharpener, and this is a sharpener that I have used a ton. It's my main sharpening system, and it's a budget system, which should say a lot. It is the Worksharp Guided Field Sharpener, and this is capping out at our price point, coming in at around $50. But overall, this is an excellent sharpener. It's got, the base model comes with a 320 grit coarse stone and a 600 grit fine stone. It also comes with a ceramic rod, which is actually very useful if you're going to maybe touch up your knife and then strop it. But overall, I think that the Worksharp Guided Field Sharpener is a great sharpening system, and it's probably the best one, in my opinion, to get yourself into freehand. You know, it comes with angle guides. This little switch right here, you can unlock it, and basically what it does is it rotates like this. So let me grab a knife really quick. Let's say you're having trouble getting to that belly, it will rotate like that and keep that angle for you. So that's a really cool thing that I like about this system, and I think it is very useful for learning to freehand sharpen. Also, something that I just completely forgot on this list for the $20 price point is the Knives Plus Strop Block. I don't have it with me. It's downstairs in my sharpening setup, but it is just basically a leather strop sitting on a piece of wood. It's just a piece of leather with compound on it. But anyway, the Knives Plus Strop Block, it's only about 25 bucks, and I've used that strop for probably over a year, and it's just held up great and is very useful and will probably last a very long time. So now we are into the next category, the $50 to $100 category. And the first one is another Civivi. It's the Civivi Elementum. And this knife is coming in right at $50. I believe it's like $50.15 on Blade HQ. But this version I have here is the Damascus version. I think that's around $90, so you are paying a little bit of a higher price for it. But Damascus looks good, and maybe you like Damascus a little bit more. And so I think that the Civivi Elementum, yes, it's a little bit small, but it is a great EDC knife, and overall very simple, but yet very functional. The next one, which is almost at the higher point of this price range, is the Spyderco Para 3 Lightweight, coming in at $98. Spyderco upped their prices, so I got this at $90. This is a modified version that I did myself. The base version comes with a satin blade and an FRN scale, and looks a lot like this Spyderco Sage right here. So it's one of those things where just the basic model is around 98 bucks, and I really think that Spydercos are great and very functional for the, I do think Spydercos are a little bit too pricey, but I don't think anyone will complain with this compression lock, and it's an overall very solid knife. So the next one that I gave away in my 500 sub giveaway is the Kaiser Mini Sheepdog. I think that the mini version is around that $70 mark, and it's got 154 cm steel G10 handles, a flipper, and a liner lock. Once again, another one of those. But overall, it's a little knife that's very good. Also, the regular version in my Carta is $90 on Blade HQ, so I think that that is a good price too. And so I think that the Kaiser Mini Sheepdog, I know a lot of people really love that knife. It wasn't my favorite, but I think it still is a solid knife that I can suggest. The next one, which was a Spyderco knife that I ended up selling, I'll just put a knife out here for someone to look at, but it was the Spyderco Native 5 Lightweight. Now, I just looked this up on Blade HQ, and I saw that it was going for $105, which is over that price point, but that I still think is a very solid price for a Spyderco. It's got the FRN scales, which I know a lot of people don't like, but it's a super strong backlock with some of the best ergonomics I've ever had on a Spyderco knife, and overall is one of my favorite Spydercos out there, and I'm pretty bummed that I lost it, but you know, what are you going to do about that? So the Spyderco Native 5 is on the list. Yes, it does exceed the price point, so I should have put it in the next category. But the next one is the Spyderco Dragonfly, which I don't have, but it is a very small knife, and a lot of the people who I share very similar interests with really do like the Spyderco Dragonfly. It is 66 bucks, which is a small knife. It's got VG10, I think, in the base model, which is a fine steel, but I do think it's a little bit overpriced for how small it is. But I think that it is a great user. It'll be a great secondary carry, you know, even though it'll probably do 95% of all the things you need it to do. Sometimes you might just want the comfort of a bigger knife in your pocket. And then the last one on the list is maybe you're the fun uncle and you want to get some for your nephew. And this is the Squid Industries Squiddy. It's about 40 bucks or $42 on Knife Center. And this is a reinforced PVC plastic Balisong trainer. You know, you don't have to worry about issues with it cutting them because it is completely plastic. And this is a user for me, and I actually have dropped this on concrete many times, and overall is in great condition. Now, I'm not really going to flip it on camera because, you know, I'll just hit my phone constantly. But it is a great knife, and I really think, or it's not really a knife, but it's a great trainer, and I think that it, even though it has its issues, like it's got the tab and it's got play and whatever, but it is made out of plastic. It's got the Squid Industries kind of smoothness to it, and I think that it's at a great price. A lot of people get mad about that price because they're like, well, $40, $50 for a piece of plastic, what is that? but it is tuned like a ballet saw. There is screws added, and you got to fit the right tolerances for it. And overall, I am impressed by the quality of a Squiddy. I think that a lot of ballet flippers out there will back me up on that. So for the $100 to $200 range, this is where it gets a little bit spicier. This is where a lot of the knives I have fall under. I didn't mean that for kind of a flex or anything, but the first one on the list for this is a Hogue, and Hogue is a great company to look at for this price range because they are made in the USA. They use good steel and they have a good locking mechanism, and a lot of times their designs are really nice because they're designed by Alan Elishewitz. So for the Hogue Deca, this knife costs $150. It has 20 CV steel, which is a high quality steel, but I'll talk about that in a bit. It's got G10 handles. It's got an axis lock bar that's called the Able lock. It's basically the same axis lock that Benchmade uses, except I'm pretty sure they use a little bit more reinforced Omega springs. It's a very lightweight knife. It carries very well, and it's got solid ergonomics. And as you can see, I have used this knife a whole lot, but my main complaint with it that kind of is a lot of times a deciding factor on why I don't carry it is that the heat treat on a lot of Hogue's 20 CV is soft, and this one is very soft. You know, a lot of people, when they hear someone talking about heat treatment, they kind of laugh because they think it's just someone trying to flex their knowledge on them, I guess. But this thing comes very it does not come very crispy off the stones, very hard to deburr, and there's many rolls, or not a lot of rolls on the edge now, but it is just a little bit rough up there just from basic uses. So I wish that Hogue would get that 20 CV heat treatment down, because if they do, 20 CV is one of the best EDC steels out there with a good heat treatment, like some around 62 HRC. But for the next one is another Hogue. This is the Doug Ritter Hogue Mark 1 G2 RSK, and it is around $160 on knifeworks.com for the full size. There's also the mini size, and the full size is definitely a big knife, but this knife is just one of the best USA made values out there, in my opinion. You know, you got G10 handle scales, which a lot of people are like, well, it's still G10, I want something more, like carbon fiber or titanium. But the truth is, their competing companies like Benchmade are using plastic scales for this price point, and so it's got very comfortable ergonomics, a very good design by Doug Ritter. It does have that 20 CV steel, which I haven't noticed it being that bad on this Hogue, but I haven't really noticed it being that good. It's got the same Able lock mechanism. Hogue has had really good finish for the two models that I have, so I think that you can trust him on that. And overall, I really do like this knife, and I bet the mini is really good as well. So for the next one on this list is another Spyderco. This is the Spyderco Sage 5 Lightweight, and this is a knife that I've really used a lot, and it's just been a great knife for really just EDC purposes. It is on the smaller side of things, but it will run you about $122. It does have these FRN scales, but the ergonomics are very comfortable. It's very lightweight. It's got that wire pocket clip, which carries great. It's got a good action for those people who care about that. This blade is S30V, so I really do like S30V steel. It has held up great. It's got a thin stock. It's nice and thinly ground. For a Spyderco, I believe this is at like 16 thousandths behind the edge. Probably thickened up a bit because I've sharpened it 3 or 4 times. But overall, this is a great EDC knife, and I really have used this a lot in the short time that I have it. And I feel like this Sage 5 Lightweight, when it comes summertime again, that thing is going to be in my pocket constantly. So the next one on the list is the ProTech SBR, and this overall is a great knife that I really do like to use. And you can see that this was reground by Alex Steingraber, so it's very thin behind the edge now, and it cuts very well. And that was my main complaint with this knife from the factory. It was about 26 thousandths behind the edge, which is just way too thick. And so now that it's thin behind the edge, that was my only complaint with it, and it is just a great overall cutter. It's a very small knife, very light, but it's super comfortable in my hand. This pocket clip is excellent. It's got that ProTech snappy automatic action, and overall this is a great little user. And now that it's thin behind the edge, I use this knife a whole lot more. My only other complaint, I guess I could say, is that this blade, it's pretty small, and it's got this big drop point blade shape. So if you're not in need of that belly, you really only have like maybe 1.5 inches of usable blade length. So it's one of those things where I wish that maybe this was like a sheep's foot or a one cliff blade, but overall this is an excellent knife for the price. And I think that my only real complaint would be that it is just too thick behind the edge from the factory for the size that it is. So the next knife on the list is the Benchmade Griptilian. This knife is only about $110 in the base variant with the thumb stud and the drop point blade. I think this one might just be a little bit more expensive, but it's got the thumb hole deployer, it's got the axis lock, and it's just got very comfortable ergonomics other than it's got jimping everywhere. That's my main complaint with it. I wish it was thinner behind the edge, but this blade shape is very good and very useful, and overall, this Griptilian has been a definite user for me, and I think that it looks very well worn and has served me well for the time that I have had it. And then the, I think it's the last one on the list, the one that's actually in my pocket right now, the Spyderco Gail Bradley 2. This knife is one of my favorite Spyderco knives, and probably by the end of me using it, which I'm going to use it a lot, probably will be my favorite. It will run you about $170, which in my opinion, that is an excellent price. You got an M4 blade with a very strong liner lock. Spyderco does a great job with their liner locks. I wish that they would use more of it. This blade shape is honestly perfect for me. I really like this little bit of belly here. I think that works very well, but the tip is still very accessible if you need to do cuts like that. It is hollow grind, it's very thin behind the edge, and it's just a great user and a knife that I'm going to put a whole lot of use on that I'm just really enjoying using in the first couple of weeks that I have had it. So for the last part of the list, and I'd save this for last because I figured all the people who are going to watch this video to know what Christmas gift they're going to get someone, they're probably not really going to care about the 200 and up category. But the first one on the list, which is just such a good knife, is the Microtech Ludt. And what don't I like about this knife? That's the real question. My only complaint, I guess, could be that the springs tend to break frequently on this automatic knife. It's broken once for me, and I know it's broken a lot of times for other people, but Microtech does have a solid warranty. There are rumors that they have a bad warranty. No clue where those come from, but I've had a great warranty experience with this, with Microtech the first time I used it. No complaints there. It's super thinly ground behind the edge. From the factory is about 10 thousandths. I did put a wider bevel when I sharpened on this, so it's probably around that 12, 13 thousandths mark when I go to measure it. The ergonomic lines are just so simple, and it makes it super comfortable in my hand. And yeah, the Ludt is just such a solid knife, and I really feel like this, if it was a manual, it'd probably be my favorite EDC knife of all time, and it is one of my favorites. And my another complaint is their 204P and 20CV and M390. I actually don't know if they use 20CV, but their 204P and M390 tends to be run a little bit soft, kind of like Hogue. So I wish that these companies would either switch to a different steel or get their heat treatment down. So the next one is the ZT-0562. A lot of ZTs come in this price point, and I think that a ZT is very good. It's probably like the knife that a lot of people, when they first get into high-end knives, they get a ZT, and that was the case for me. This 0562 tie will run you about $280. The carbon fiber variant, where it's just the carbon fiber show side scale, is about $260. And I think ZT does sales pretty frequently, or I know they had a pretty big sale a while ago. So, you know, keep in mind, I bet they'll do one for Black Friday. But overall, this knife is probably a good first high-end knife. You know, my only complaints with it is the ergonomics. The ergonomics are actually pretty good. I just wish that it was thinner behind the edge. You know, sometimes this knife is designed by Rick Hinder, so it is very overbuilt. But sometimes these overbuilt knives are very strong, but, you know, they don't cut. So it's one of those things where I care about a knife that cuts because that's what knives do. This lockup is overall fine. You know, if I do squeeze it really hard like this, there is a little bit of lock stick on there, and so with the lock there is a little bit of slip with that frame lock, but I haven't noticed any lock failure issues that ZT has had over the years. So overall, I think the 0562 tie is a very quality knife as someone's first, you know, high-end knife. The next one that I have on the list is the Sebenza 21 and 31. I can pretty much suggest all Chris Reeve knives because I really like them, but I've only tried the Sebenzas, the two largest. Probably going to get some more in the future, but basically these knives are really good, and yeah, I really got pretty much no complaints about them. I just spit on my Sebenza, that's not good. And the thumb stud on this, it's a little bit sharp, so I don't like that, but it's not really that big of a deal to me. The lockup on Sebenzas is so strong, and just this knife, it doesn't look very hard used, but this knife can take a beating. It's just probably my favorite knife that I have, and I really don't even know what to say about it. It's so good. And by the way, yeah, people who are watching this who are new to the knife world, Sebenzas, that 21 that I have with the micarta is $550. The 31 that's plain is $450. So obviously, this isn't cheap. The last one on the list is a Balisong, and it is the Benchmade 51. This Balisong isn't the best for flipping, but I've had this for like 2 years, and it is probably the best, or one of the best EDC Balisongs, I guess you could say, because it's just very thin, it's very light, it will carry very well in your pocket. The only issue is that, you know, it's probably not legal in the area where you live. It is legal in Kentucky, so got no issues with that, but I really don't carry a Bally all that much. But I think that if you want to carry a Bally, look cool, and get a good user, I think that the Benchmade 51 is great because it's very lightweight, and you can still take it out and play with it. But this prices on the Benchmade have gone up. It's about $300. So, you know, D2, G10 Balisong for $300. I wish that was a little bit cheaper, but once again, Benchmades are made in the USA. So that obviously having to pay all those extra costs for like workers and stuff, that does drive the price up. So that will do it for this video. I hope that you guys enjoyed. Thank you for watching. If there's any questions that you have on suggestions, like maybe you're looking at something and you think it might look good, please leave that down below. I'd be happy to help you out, and there are probably people down there who will help you out more than I can. But once again, check the description. All these items will be listed. Now I have to go upload this video and find links for all these items. So that's going to do it for the video. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.